1 week. That's all it takes to prove you've been lying to yourself, not because life is easy, but because change is simpler than you think. Most people don't fail from lack of time. They fail from lack of discipline. Listen closely, because what you do, and then let's get one thing clear, and your life doesn't change when motivation hits. It changes when habits lock in. You don't need a year. You don't need a perfect plan. You need 7 focus days of doing what most people avoid. These habits aren't glamorous. They're uncomfortable. They demand attention, effort, and honesty. But they work fast because they attack the root, your daily behavior. 1 week of discipline can wake something dangerous inside you, self-respect. And once that's awake, everything shifts. If you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of feeling behind, this is your reset. No hype, no excuses, just action. Next 7 days can separate you from everyone else. When the alarm goes off and your body begs for mercy, that moment is not about sleep. That moment is about identity. That moment is asking one quiet question: who's in charge here? Because every morning, before the world touches you, before problems line up, before excuses get dressed and ready to speak, there is a decision. And most people lose it before their feet hit the floor. They hit snooze, not on the alarm, but on their potential. See, waking up early isn't about the clock. It's about authority. It's about telling your life, I move first. I've seen it. People say they want more money, more peace, more purpose, but they negotiate with comfort every morning. And comfort is a smooth liar. Comfort will tell you, 5 more minutes won't hurt. Comfort will whisper, you deserve rest. But comfort never tells you the price. It never tells you what it's stealing from you quietly, consistently, every single day. The truth is brutal. If you can't control your morning, you don't control your life. Early mornings expose you. No applause, no audience, no motivation music playing. Just you, your bed, and your excuses standing in the dark. And that's why it matters. Because discipline built in silence echoes loud later. I remember the days when waking up early felt like punishment. My body was heavy. My mind was loud. Every reason not to get up felt valid. But something hit me. Life doesn't reward intentions. It rewards obedience to what's hard. And the people who win, they don't feel ready. They move anyway. You don't wake up early because you're energized. You wake up early because you're committed. There's something spiritual about rising while the world is asleep. It humbles you. It sharpens you. It forces you to sit with your thoughts instead of running from them. In those early hours, there's no one to blame, no one to distract you, just truth. And truth is uncomfortable, but it's powerful. When you wake up early, you stop reacting to life and start commanding it. You stop rushing and start preparing. You start thinking clearly, planning intentionally, building quietly, and that's when momentum is born, not in chaos, but in calm discipline. Let me be clear, this isn't about waking up early for a week and posting about it. This is about proving to yourself that excuses don't own you anymore. Because once you win the morning, something changes inside. Confidence rises. Respect for yourself grows. And when you respect yourself, you move differently. Most people are tired not because they do too much, but because they do too little of what matters. You wake up late, you rush, you react, you live in survival, and survival never builds legacy. But when you wake up early, you breathe, you think, you prepare your mind before the world tries to break it. You take control before distractions attack. You get ahead, not just in time, but in mentality. And here's the hard truth nobody wants to hear: waking up early will feel lonely at first. Because discipline separates you. While others sleep, you're working. While others dream, you're building. While others complain, you're preparing. And that loneliness, that's the cost of growth. But don't confuse loneliness with weakness. That quiet morning grind, that strength being forged. You don't need motivation to wake up early. You need a reason bigger than comfort. A vision that pulls you out of bed. A future that demands sacrifice. Because if your goals don't wake you up early, your regrets will keep you up late. This habit alone can shift everything in a week, not because the world changes, but because you do. Every time you reach for that distraction, something inside you is getting weaker, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, piece by piece. You think it's harmless. You think it's just a break, just a scroll, just a moment to breathe. But let me tell you the truth the world won't say out loud. Distractions are not accidents. They are thieves, and they steal from the same place every time. Your future. See, distraction doesn't show up looking dangerous. It shows up looking familiar, comfortable, entertaining. It doesn't kick the door down. It knocks politely and waits for permission. And most people hand over the keys without thinking. You don't lose your life in one big mistake. You lose it in 1,000 small escapes. I've watched people with real talent, real potential, real fire lose years because they never learned to sit still with focus. They couldn't stay in the discomfort long enough to build anything meaningful. Every time things got quiet, they reached for noise, and noise feels good, but it produces nothing. Let me say this clearly: if you can't control what you give your attention to, you don't control your direction. Your phone doesn't just steal time. It trains your mind to crave interruption. It teaches you to quit thinking the moment things get hard. It rewires you to chase stimulation instead of progress. And then you wonder why you can't focus. You wonder why you feel restless. You wonder why you start things but never finish. That's not laziness. That's conditioning. The world profits from you being distracted, from you being numb, from you being busy but not effective. And the moment you decide to remove distractions, life gets uncomfortable, because now there's nowhere to hide. Silence exposes you, focus confronts you, and truth starts speaking. When distractions are gone, your mind gets loud at first. Doubt shows up, fear shows up. Old thoughts you've been avoiding start knocking. And most people run back to distraction right there, not because they're weak, but because they're afraid to face themselves. But growth lives on the other side of that discomfort. I remember the first time I cut the noise. No constant scrolling, no background sound, no quick escapes. Just me and the work. And it felt heavy. My mind kept looking for an exit. But then something powerful happened. Clarity arrived, not all at once, but slowly. Thought by thought, idea by idea. Focus is like a muscle, weak at first, shaking under pressure. But the more you train it, the stronger it gets. And once focus gets strong, your life starts changing fast. Because focused people don't just work harder, they work deeper. They don't need 8 hours of chaos. They can change their trajectory in 1 hour of undistracted effort. While others are reacting, they're building. While others are consuming, they're creating. While others are entertained, they're evolving. And here's the hard truth: you don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. The same 24 hours you have are producing completely different lives for different people. Not because of luck, but because of attention. What you focus on daily becomes your reality. When you remove distractions, you start hearing your own voice again. You start remembering what you wanted before the world told you to want something else. You start thinking long-term instead of chasing quick hits of pleasure. And yes, people will call you extreme. They'll say you're doing too much. They'll joke about how serious you are. But let me ask you something. How serious are you about your life? Because average lives are built on constant distraction. Exceptional lives are built in focused solitude. You don't have to delete the world forever, but you do need to prove to yourself that you can sit with discipline longer than you sit with entertainment. That you can delay pleasure for progress. That your future matters more than your comfort. Remove distractions like your life depends on it, because it does. 1 week of focused living can wake you up. 1 week without constant noise can show you how powerful your mind really is. 1 week of choosing depth over distraction can remind you that you're capable of more than survival. The question is simple, but uncomfortable. Are you willing to be bored long enough to become great? Because on the other side of distraction is clarity. On the other side of clarity is purpose. And on the other side of purpose is a life most people only talk about. Posture changes. Your confidence changes. Your discipline sharpens. And discipline is freedom in disguise. That task you keep avoiding, the one that tightens your chest just thinking about it, that's not random. That's not bad luck. That's not timing. That task is the door. And every morning you walk past it, your future watches you choose comfort over courage. See, life is honest. It puts the most important work right in front of you, and then it waits to see what kind of person you are. Most people try to warm up with easy wins, small tasks, busy work. They want to feel productive before they actually are productive. But all they're doing is hiding. Let me tell you something real. If you don't attack the hardest thing first, it will attack you all day. It will sit in the back of your mind while you pretend to work. It will drain your energy before you even start. It will follow you into every easy task and poison your focus. That's why the strongest people don't negotiate with difficulty. They confront it. I've watched people sabotage entire days because they avoided one uncomfortable action, one phone call, one decision, one hard conversation, one focused block of work. And instead of facing it head on, they let it linger. And that lingering turns into stress. Stress turns into exhaustion. Exhaustion turns into quitting. Not because they couldn't do the work, but because they delayed it. Here's the truth most don't want to hear. Discipline isn't about doing a lot. It's about doing the right thing first. When you handle the hardest task early, something powerful happens inside you. You don't just complete work. You build authority over yourself. You tell your mind, I don't run from pressure. I run toward it. And once your mind believes that fear loses its grip, hard tasks are heavy only before you lift them. Once you're in motion, strength shows up. But comfort will try to convince you otherwise. Comfort will say, start small. Comfort will say, get ready first. Comfort will say, you're not in the right mood. But comfort never builds momentum. Comfort keeps you average and calm while your dreams slowly suffocate. You don't need the right mood. You need the right move. I remember days when the hardest task felt impossible. The doubt was loud. The pressure was real. Everything in me wanted to delay. But every time I leaned into the discomfort, every time I did the thing I feared most, something broke loose. Not outside of me, inside of me. Confidence doesn't come from affirmations. Confidence comes from evidence. And nothing builds evidence faster than doing what you said you would do, especially when it's hard. When you knock out the hardest task first, the rest of the day feels lighter. Your posture changes, your energy shifts. Problems don't intimidate you the same way, because you already faced the biggest challenge and survived. That's not motivation, that's momentum. Most people spend their lives running mental marathons without ever taking action. Thinking, overthinking, planning, replanning, and all that mental weight makes the task seem bigger than it is. But once you step into it, you realize the truth. The fear was heavier than the work. Do the hard thing first, and you shrink fear. And let me be clear, this isn't just about productivity. This is about character, about integrity with yourself, about becoming the type of person who doesn't flinch when pressure shows up. Because life doesn't get easier as you grow, it gets heavier. Bigger responsibilities, bigger stakes, bigger consequences. And if you haven't trained yourself to face hard things early, life will break you later. The people who win aren't fearless, they're practiced. Practiced at choosing discomfort, practiced at acting without certainty, practiced at showing up even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. That practice starts with one habit: do the hardest thing first. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because every time you delay, you're reinforcing a dangerous belief that avoidance is acceptable. And once that belief settles in, it spreads. It infects your work, your relationships, your standards. But when you attack the hardest task first, you raise the bar for yourself, for your life. You stop asking, can I do this? And start saying, I handle what's necessary. That shift changes everything. So tomorrow morning, don't warm up with comfort. Don't hide in busy work. Look at the thing you least want to do and do that first. Do it scared. Do it tired. Do it imperfect, because the hardest task isn't just a task, it's training. Training you to lead yourself. Training you to stand under pressure. Training you to become someone your future can rely on.